Right. So the past 2 weeks we've been in a series called. Can you put the thing up? I'm not gonna lie, I forgot what the series is called. It's like Women of the Bible. Yeah. Okay. Women of the Bible. So, in this series we're talking about women of the Bible. So, the first week Julia talked about Mary Magdalene, and the second week Max talked about Martha. So I'm going to be talking about Rahab today. So let me ask everyone a question. So when you think of people in the Bible, who comes to your mind? Just go ahead. Just raise your hand. Jesus? Yeah. Who else? Anyone else? Abraham? Peter? Job? That's a good one. Paul? Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, shh. Okay. So notice how I didn't hear one women name in the Bible come up. And that's why this series that we're doing is so important. We need to remember that women in the Bible and women in general are so important in our world. And they make a huge impact in spreading the gospel. Matthew chapter 1 names the people in the genealogy of Jesus. And if you don't know what the genealogy of Jesus is, it lists out Jesus' ancestors going to Joseph to Abraham. That's 42 generations that are named. There are only 5 women named in the genealogy, and one of them is Rahab. And you can read that in Matthew chapter 1, verse 5. So here are some things you need to know about Rahab. Who was Rahab? Rahab lived in Jericho around 1400 BC, and that's northwest of the Dead Sea. There was supposed to be a thing up there, but it's not. So Rahab's story is found in the book of Joshua, and that's in the Old Testament, and that's before Jesus' time. Although she is mentioned in other books of the Bible, like Hebrews, Isaiah, and James. She is the mother of Boaz. If you don't know who Boaz is married to Ruth, and you can read Ruth in the chapter Ruth of the Bible. So Rahab was a prostitute. If you don't know what that is, it's a person who engages in sexual activity for payment. All right, so there's going to be Joshua chapter 2, verses 1 through 16 on the screen. So please follow along. And Joshua the son of Nun sent 2 men secretly from Shittim as spies, saying, "Go view the land, especially Jericho." And they went and came into the house of a prostitute whose name was Rahab, and lodged there. And it was told to the king of Jericho, "Behold, men of Israel have come here tonight to search out the land." And the king of Jericho said to Rahab, saying, "Bring out the men who come to you, who entered your house, for they have come to search out all the land." But the woman had taken the 2 men and hidden them. And she said, "True, the men came to me, but I did not know where they were from." And then the gate was about to be closed at dark. The men went out. "I do not know where the men went. Pursue them quickly, for you will overtake them." But she had brought them up to a roof and hid them with stalks of flax, and she laid in order on the roof. So the men pursued after them on their way to the Jordan as far as the fords, and the gate was shut as soon as the pursuers had gone out. Before the men lay down, she came up to them on the roof and said to the men, "I know that the Lord has given you the land, and that the fear of you has fallen upon us, and that the inhabitants of the land melt away before you. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea before you, and when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to the 2 kings of the Amorites, who were beyond the Jordan, to Sihon and Og, whom you've devoted to destruction. And as soon as we heard it, our hearts melted, and there was no spirit left in any man because of you. For the Lord your God, he is God in the heavens above and on the earth beneath. Now, then please swear to me by the Lord that as I have dealt kindly with you, you will also deal kindly with my father's house, and give me a sure sign that you will save alive my father and mother, my brothers and sisters, and all who belong to them, and deliver our lives from death." And the men said to her, "Our life for yours, even to death. If you do not tell this business of ours, then when the Lord gives us the land, we will deal kindly and faithfully with you." Then she let them down a rope through the window, for her house was built into the city wall, so that she lived in the wall. And she said to them, "Go into the hills, or the pursuers will encounter you, and hide there 3 days until the pursuers have returned. Then after noon you may go your way." So there are some key points in this passage that I want to point out. So the first one is Joshua sends 2 spies to go view the land of Jericho. This is pretty much just like what any military would do before trying to attack like a place. So, I mean, think about like a video games like Clash of Clans. I'm pretty good at that game, not gonna lie. I probably could beat all of you. But before you want to attack someone, you want to look and see what their base looks like before just going all in with your troops. So the second key point is they went to Jericho and lodged at Rahab's house. And they lodged at Rahab's house because it was built into the city wall. So, I mean, it was a good place to hide. You walked right into Jericho, and there was probably Rahab's house there. The king asked Rahab to bring out the men who were in the house, and Rahab said that the spies left her house even though they were on the roof. So Rahab hid the spies and lied to the king to save the spies because she knew that God was going to take over the land. Rahab believed that God was going to take over the land of Jericho, which I already said. Rahab asked the spies to spare her and her family when the Israelites take over Jericho, and the spies agreed to keep them and her safe. So Rahab, of course, had I don't want to be mean to Rahab, but she had some issues, kind of like all we do. So Rahab was a broken person, just like us. As humans, we're all broken, and we all have sin issues. Here are some of Rahab's issues that led her to having a bad reputation. So, of course, the main one is Rahab was a prostitute. And, I mean, at the time, everyone knew that she was a prostitute. Rahab's house was built into the wall. And, I mean, if people saw the spies go into Rahab's house, then you think that, other people would see, when men go in and out of her house. Imagine, the gossip that could happen there. Hey Xavier, did you see the man that just went into Rahab's house? Did you see that he was just there last week? The gossip that could go around. Rahab lived in a place that is very sinful, and they worshipped idols and false gods. Which we can compare to that because we live in a very sinful place, and we also worship idols. Take your phone for example, or work, school, boyfriend or girlfriend. So I watched this movie a couple days ago. It's called Hidden Figures. It should be up on the screen. Yeah, if you haven't seen that movie, it's a very good movie. Very good. So this movie is about 3 African-American women working at NASA. This movie took place in 1961, and if you didn't know, segregation was still a thing back then. So there was many challenges being a woman and being black at the time. The main character is named Katherine Johnson. She's in the middle there. She got a promotion to check numbers on landings and how fast a spacecraft will go. But people didn't want to work with her because she was black. There's a scene where she goes into where she's going to work, and everyone just starts quiet and just stares at her because of her color. So before John Glenn, if you don't know John Glenn, I believe he was the first one to orbit the Earth, if I'm wrong. So he went up to space. There was something wrong with the landing numbers, and he asked specifically for Katherine to fix them, and she did. So Katherine did a huge thing for NASA, and if it wasn't for her, the project could have gone very wrong. So Katherine had a rough past, people making fun of her, people not treating her right, but because she was black. But people showed everyone that she could do the calculations even when nobody believed in her or didn't want to work with her. So we can see this in Rahab too. Who would think that God would use a prostitute in his plan? Rahab was broken, and I bet everyone gossiped about her and judged her for what she was. But God still used her and still loved her. What makes Rahab a godly woman? So in Joshua chapter 2, verse 12 through 13, it talks about how she helped her family and her family's family. She was surrounded by selfish people, but she was selfless herself. And I believe that's on your card too. So Rahab believed that God is God, and that talks about in Joshua chapter 2, verse 11. It talks about how she says that to the Israelites that she believes that their God is God, and she trembled in fear because of it. So Rahab risked her life and her family's because she put faith in God. And that's in Joshua chapter 2, verse 4. Think about the consequences that would happen if King Jericho found the the spies. I mean, she would have got killed. She probably would have got tortured, and that's not good at all. So why would God choose Rahab? I mean, Rahab she was a prostitute. She lived in a bad place. I mean, people didn't think of her as, a good person. But God doesn't care about the past. He cares about you. He doesn't care about the mistakes you made in the past or the bad things you've done in the past, because he just cares about you and who you are now. So in Psalms, verse 37 through 24, it talks about, it says, though he may stumble, he will not fall, for the Lord upholds him with his hand. And this verse is saying that you will make mistakes in your life, but God will be there. You have to rely on him, just as Rahab relied on God to protect her family. A fun fact about Rahab is in Hebrews chapter 11, it's often called the Faith Hall of Fame. And Rahab is in there in verse 34, and I'll read it for you. It says, by faith Rahab the prostitute did not perish with those who were disobedient, because she had given a friendly welcome to the spies. She was a prostitute and a woman, and she is mentioned in the Faith Hall of Fame, and that's pretty big. All right. So, does anyone have a wallet in here? Yeah? Do you have some cash? Can I have some? Can I have like $5? Do you have do you have a 5 or 1 even? Oh, wow. You got like a 5 or something? I don't want to. No, it's. Oh, wait, no, that's all right. That's all right. Thank you. Okay, so I have a $5 bill here. That's a lot of money. You know what I could buy with these $5? Like 500 pennies. That's crazy. So, this money is pretty valuable, right? It's $5. It's valuable. No, I won't. No. Okay, so, it's $5, right? What happens if I crumble it up? Is it still valuable? Yeah? What happens if I step on? Oh, shoot. I don't step on that. What happens if I step on it like that? I mean, is it still valuable? Yeah. So, think about this as Rahab. Rahab was a really messy person. Just like us. We're messy, right? We don't deserve God's love, yet he still gives it to us, and he still sees value in us, So that's that. No, I'll give it back to you. Don't worry. Yeah. All right. So God sees your past, and he obviously knows your past, but he still wants you, and he still loves you. All right. So please bow your heads and pray with me. Dear Jesus, I just want to thank you for bringing us all here today, and I want to thank you for Johnny and Alex letting us have this student takeover and giving us students the opportunity to teach and really lead games and just have fun with that. Lord, I want to thank you for loving us even though we're really messy, even though we're not good people at all, Lord, but you still love us. You still wake us up every day, even though we don't deserve to be waking up, Lord. I want to thank you, and we love you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.